So good day everyone, my name is Mary Divine Christie Advincula and I will be the first presenter to discuss our topic. So our topic is all about the policies, programs for Philippine women. So in this topic we will know what are the laws, policies, and programs that help protect women and empowerment them. So before we proceed to the discussion, I would like to have a simple exercise. So the instruction is really easy to follow and really easy to proceed. So after this video has been uploaded, the first 5 commenters who comment down and answered correctly will have an additional point to the upcoming quiz that we will be conducting soon. So the question is, what are your knowledge on regards of our topic, which is the laws, policies, and programs for Philippine women? So we will continue the discussion. So we have the learning outcomes. So the learning outcomes are: name the Philippine laws that protects and empower women, explain the importance of policies that protects and empower women, and state the aims of these policies for women and for the society as a whole. So during the discussion, we will know these laws and the importance of these policies and their aims for this to women and as a society as a whole. So first we will have the human right approach. The human right approach to women's development is essential since it can serve as a means to increasing awareness about women, their plight, and particular needs. Laws have been passed responding to these demand for the protection of women's rights, as the following are among the documents advocating gender equality and human development. So the human right approach, this group specifies the protection or the rights of women, which includes sex and reproductive health care, their non-discrimination at the workplace and in society, etc. So next we have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. Its underlying premise is to provide all people the same basic human rights regardless of sex and gender. These rights are fundamental human entitlement of a person because his or her existence as a person has intrinsic value and because certain entitlements are necessary for one to realize his or her humanity. So in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all humans must have the right to life, the right to a nationality, the right to education, the right to a livelihood, etc. So next we have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW of 1994. Also known as the International Bill of Rights of Women, is the only human rights treaty which affirms the reproductive rights of women and targets culture and tradition as influential forces shaping gender roles and family relations. It affirms women's rights to acquire, change, or retain their nationality and the nationality of their children. So any state or country that adopts the CEDAW must commit itself to ending discriminate against women. Specifically, a state must work to incorporate the principle of equality and of men and women in their legal system, abolish all discrimination against women, to establish tribunals and other public institutions, to ensure the effective protection of women against discrimination, to ensure elimination of all acts of discrimination against women by person, organization, or enterprises. So the Magna Carta of Women, MCW, establishes the Philippine government's pledge to commitment to the CEDAW. So next we have the Beijing Platform for Action of 1994. So the Beijing Platform for Action aims for the complete participation of women in all spheres of life through the shared responsibility of men and women at home, in the workplace, and in the public sector. It also focuses on the social dimension of growth recognizing that structural adjustment plan had left behind women and had led to a feminization of poverty, the phenomenon in which majority of the world's poor are women. So to ensure the gender equality, the Beijing Platform for Action formulated the 12 critical areas of concern that needs urgent action. So the increasing burden of women, poverty on women, unequal access to education, healthcare and related services, violence against women, the effects of armed or other kinds of conflicts on women, inequality in economic structure and policies, inequality between men and women in sharing of power and decision making at all levels, insufficient mechanism at all levels to promote and protection of human rights of women, the lack of respect and adequate promotion and protection of the human rights of women, stereotyping of women and inequality in women's access and participation in all communication systems, especially media, gender inequality in the management of natural resources, and the safeguarding the environment, and persistent discrimination against women, against the and violation of the rights of the girl child. So the signatories of the Beijing Platform for Action must adopt national policies and programs that incorporate gender mainstreaming. So gender mainstreaming is the process of assessing the implications for women and men of any planned action, including legislations, policies, or programs in all areas and at all levels. So then next we have the Millennial Development Goals. So the goals focuses on reducing poverty, hunger, disease, and gender inequality, as well as ensuring access to water and sanitation by 2015. So the three of the eight Millennial Development Goals focus on the education and or gender. So first we have the goal 2, which is to achieve universal primary education. Next, we have to promote gender equality and empower women. And lastly, we have to improve mental health. In Sustainable Development Goal, it aims to address the root causes of poverty and inequality in the world. It is also built from the Millennial Development Goal and aimed at continuing the latter's goal and completing the targets by 2023. On specific goal concerning gender equality with its associated targets is achieving gender equality and empower all women and girls.
Timeline of notable policies and laws for women. In 1975 to 1985, the United Nations of Decade of Women. This period gave attention to women's issues in the global perspective, when the initial focus of this decade was on domestic violence. Other various forms of violence against women were later added, such as domestic violence, trafficking and sexual exploitation, and women in detention and in armed conflict. In 1979, the CEDAW, or Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. On December 18, 1979, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women was adopted by United Nations General Assembly. It entered into force as an international treaty on September 3, 1981, after the 20th country had ratified it. By the 10th anniversary of the convention in 1989, almost 100 nations have agreed to be bound by its provisions. Among the international human rights treaties, the convention takes an important place in bringing the female half of humanity into focus of human rights concerns. The convention gives positive affirmation to the principle of equality by requiring states parties to take all appropriate measures, including legislation, to ensure the full development and advancement of women, for the purpose guaranteeing them the exercise of enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms on a basis of equality with men. The agenda for equality was specified in 14 subsequent articles. In its approach, the convention covers three dimensions of the situation of women. Civil rights and the legal status of women are dealt with a great detail. In addition, and unlike other human rights treaties, the convention is also concerned with the dimension of human reproduction, as well as the impact of cultural factors on gender, gender relations. In 1985, General Assembly Resolution on Domestic Violence. In 1985, the General Assembly adopted the first resolution on domestic violence based on recommendation of the Commission on the Status of Women to the Economic and Social Council and the outcome of the Sixth United Nations Congress on the Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders. Expert Group Meeting on the Violence in the Family, 1986. The implementation of 1985 resolution included the 1986 Expert Group Meeting on the Violence in the Family, with special emphasis on its effects on women. This meeting adopted concrete recommendations with regard to legal reform, police, prosecutor and health sector training, social and resource support for victims. It also made clear that domestic violence was a global phenomenon which was significantly underreported. In 1989, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, or CRC, was adopted. CRC is concerned with the protection of the dignity of children. It contains specific notes against abuse and violence, including domestic abuse and child trafficking. In 1994, the International Conference on Population and Development. It highlights how important it is to support women and girls, both as a means to a global and as means of raising everyone's standard of living. As a prerequisite for women empowerment, it also emphasizes the significance of sexual and reproductive health, including family planning. It demands an end to harmful cultural practices, including as female genital mutilation and gender-based violence. The program of action also emphasizes the vital connections between sexual and reproductive health and rights and almost every aspect of population and development, including urbanization, migration, and aging, as well as shifting family structures and the significance of addressing young people's rights. It draws attention to the ways in which promoting the sexual and reproductive health of women and young people in particular can have an impact on population dynamics and environmental sustainability. In 1995, the Beijing Platform for Action identified specific areas of action for governments to take in the prevention in response to violence against women, the girls. The issue of violence against women is featured chapter and is one of 12 areas of priority action with an expansive definition of forms of violence. In 1999, November 25 was signated the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, which also marked the United Nations formally joining the 716 Days of Activism Against Gender Violence, proclaimed and commemorated by the International Women's Movement since 1990. In 2008, the United Nations Secretary General launched an unprecedented global campaign, Unite, to end violence against women, calling on governments, civil society, women organizations, young people, the private sector, the media, and the entire UN system to adopt and enforce national laws that address and punish all forms of violence against women and adopt and implement multi-sectoral national action plans, strengthen data selection on the prevalence of violence against women and girls, increasing public awareness and social mobilization, address sexual violence and conflict by 201. In 2013, the status of women, The Commission on the Status of Women is intergovernmental body charged by the formulation of the international policies framework to ensure the advancement of women. In 1987, the Commission identified violence against women within family and social as falling within the Nairobi Forward-Looking Strategies Priority Theme Peace. With a growing understanding of the link between gender and violence, the approach to the issue within the United Nations shifted. First, it became clear that violence in the family was not only form of violence against women. Second, the gender-based nature of violence against women and its linkage to subordination, inequality between women and men, and discrimination led to its categorization as a matter of human rights.
The laws and policies for women in the Philippines. Women rights are mandated by the Philippine Constitution. Women play a vital role in the Philippine nation building. Their inclusion in societal structure and processes are the key towards equality and development. Republic Act 7192 or the Women Development and Nation Building Act stems this portion of the Constitution. The Nation Commission on the Role of Filipino Women (NCRFW), now the Philippine Commission of Women (PCW), is the primary policy-making and coordination body of women and gender equality concerns. It acts as a catalyst for gender mainstreaming, authority, and women concerns and lead advocate of women empowerment, gender equality. Executive Order Number 348 created the Philippine Development Plan for Women (PDPW) for the period 1989 to 1992. It was the first development plan to integrate women's interests. The Philippine Plan for Gender-Responsive Development (PPGD), this 30-year perspective plan for 1995 to 2025, covers the following domains: the individual, the family, socio-cultural, economic, political, legal issues. The Philippines government produced two recent publications on gender mainstreaming: Harmonized Gender and Development Guidelines, published in 2010, Women's Empowerment, Development and Gender Equality, EDGE Plan 2013 to 2016. The other publication in the Women's Empowerment, Development, and Gender Equality EDGE Plan 2013-2016, published by the PCW. The government has enacted numerous laws to protect Philippine women from gender-specific forms of discrimination and violence. Meanwhile, policymakers continue file women-specific bills as amplified in the following press. Senator Risa Hontiveros, Tres Marias Bills. Anti-Rape Act, Senate Bill Number 1252. Anti-Sexual Harassment Bill, Senate Bill Number 1250. Gender-Based Electronic Violence, Senate Bill Number 1251.